Pressure is growing on the UK government to draw up emergency measures to protect households and businesses from high energy costs moving into winter. Household bills have been soaring and are set to rise further, with tomorrow's announcements expected by the energy regulator. They will announce the latest cap on energy prices. Let's bring into the conversation Bloomberg's Lizzy Burden here in London, who's been investigating the UK side of this initially. Lizzy, what are we expecting from Ofgem then tomorrow? Because we've seen this cap rise and rise.
Yes, we're going to see the price cap for the fourth quarter for consumers, and the estimate is that it's going to rise 80%, so that the average energy bill for households is more than £3,500. Now, there, as you imply, are going to be more increases expected next year. That's why Citi's forecasting that inflation will rise above 18% in the UK. And you've had an energy boss at EDF warning that more than half of UK households are going to be in fuel poverty by January. So this is very much at the top of the in tray for whoever is the next Prime Minister. Both in terms of how to help households pay their energy bills and also to perhaps change the system. But remember, it's not applicable to businesses. And again, overnight, we've had warnings from industry bosses that lots of companies are going to be collapsing because there hasn't been support for businesses on energy bills and they're not going to be able to pay.
Lizzy, good morning. As you say, this will be top of the in tray for the next Prime Minister, but how do we expect them to deal with it?
Well, we've already had about £30 billion of support for households. Boris Johnson has said that he's going to leave any radical decisions to his successor. But it's not exactly clear how Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak would handle this. Liz Truss has said that she's against handouts. Rishi Sunak has said that he's worried about the cost of a long-term commitment to bailing out energy companies, but he has said that he would target support at the poorest households. But it's striking, and there's a piece about this on the terminal today. The kinds of ideas that are being floated, they were unthinkable until very recently, but they kind of hark back to the 1970s. The opposition leader, Keir Starmer, has suggested that the windfall tax should be continued and energy bills frozen, and that would cost something around £29 billion. The question is that sustainable? And then the former Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, has said that he'd nationalise the energy suppliers if they needed to be nationalised, which is basically an administrative distraction from the actual problem. So there have even been suggestions that you could do an equivalent of OPEC for gas to try to manipulate the market. And then we have, of course, had that scoop from Bloomberg about the idea of orchestrated blackouts to try to weigh on demand. So all of them extreme suggestions that you just wouldn't have thought would be even on the table until recently.
Right, yeah, some really extreme suggestions there then, Lizzy, and lots to think about as we go into the winter. But this isn't just a UK situation, of course. There's the rest of Europe dealing with its own dimension of the energy challenge. How does what the UK is doing compare to what we're seeing in parts of Europe?
Well, in terms of the energy price cap for consumers, in France and the UK, it's pretty similar, but the French government's influence over EDF is the difference. It's effectively nationalised. And of course, that's what Gordon Brown is suggesting. And the argument is that the UK has this quote-unquote retail market where it's, to the consumer, it seems, as Simon French, Panmure Gordon put it, heads I win, tails you lose, because people are paying the price that's tied to the wholesale gas market in the good times, and in the bad times, the government could potentially bail out the energy suppliers. So the question is, do you go for an actual more along the lines of nationalisation model as in France? But the energy usage is also different in the UK. We're much more reliant on gas to power our homes than, for example, Germany or the US.